Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're digging into cat nutrition based on this really comprehensive guide you shared. The mission: figure out what cats really need in their bowl.
Yeah, and why it matters so much. We want to cut through, the marketing fluff
hmm
and get to the actual science.
Okay, so where do we start? What's the absolute bedrock principle here?
It all comes down to this.
Yeah.
Cats are obligate carnivores. Full stop.
Obligate carnivores, meaning meat isn't optional, it's essential.
Exactly. It's not just what they like to eat, it's what their biology, their evolution as hunters demands. They need nutrients found almost exclusively in animal tissues.
Right. So, thinking about those needs, what are the big things? Macronutrients.
Protein is number one. Really high protein. And not just for muscles, it's a primary energy source for them too.
And it has to be animal protein specifically.
Yes, absolutely, because it provides essential amino acids in the right form. Take taurine, for example. Cats can't make enough themselves.
Ah, taurine. That one comes up a lot. Deficiency is serious, right?
Extremely serious. Blindness, fatal heart conditions, it's crucial. And even dog food doesn't have enough for a cat.
Right.
Then there's arginine, vital for processing ammonia. A lack of it can be toxic very quickly.
Wow. Okay. So high animal protein, specific amino acids covered. What about fats?
Fats are important too. Concentrated energy, plus they help absorb certain vitamins. And cats need specific essential fatty acids.
Like the omega-3s and 6s we hear about.
Sort of, yeah. Specifically things like arachidonic acid or AA plus EPA and DHA.
Yeah.
Cats are pretty bad at making AA themselves or converting the plant-based omegas efficiently. They really need them from animal sources.
Got it. And the big controversial one, carbohydrates.
Well, the science is clear. Cats have no known minimum requirement for
I have
carbs.
zero, really.
None at all. None that we know of. Think about their natural prey mice, birds, very low carb. Yet look at many dry foods.
They're often packed with carbs, right? As fillers or binders.
Exactly. And there's definitely concern about links to obesity, maybe diabetes. When cats actually get a choice, they tend to go for lower carb, higher protein options.
Okay, that makes sense. Beyond the macros, what about vitamins and minerals? Any unique cat quirks there?
Oh, definitely. They need preformed vitamin A, found in the liver, for example. They can't make it from beta-carotene like we can. Same for vitamin D. They need D3 from animal sources. Niacin, pyridoxine, also higher needs.
And balance matters too, I imagine.
Hugely. Calcium and phosphorus need to be in the right ratio for bones.
Mhm.
Too much or too little of certain minerals can cause problems. Like, historically, high magnesium was linked to urinary crystals.
Okay, so keeping all those specific needs in mind. Let's talk commercial foods. Dry kibble first. Convenient, but
But yeah, major drawback is low moisture. Cats naturally get a lot of water from prey, so relying on kibble can contribute to chronic low-level dehydration.
like the carbs we mentioned.
And the carbs, usually high because the manufacturing process, extrusion, needs starches. Plus, it's very calorie-dense, easy to overfeed, and that whole cleans teeth idea, mostly a myth for standard kibble.
Right. Okay, what about wet food? Canned stuff.
Big advantage. Moisture. Much closer to their natural intake. Generally higher protein, lower carbs. On a dry matter basis, that's key. Compare nutrients without the water.
Dry matter basis, right? DMB. Good point. And cats usually love it.
They often find it more palatable, yeah. The cooking process can affect taurine, but reputable brands supplement it back in.
What about those semi-moist foods in pouches? You don't see them as much now.
No, and probably for the best. They used to contain things like propylene glycol, which raised safety concerns, often high in sugars, salt. Generally not the best choice nutritionally.
Okay, now, raw diets. This is a hot topic.
It is. The idea is to mimic a natural diet with uncooked ingredients. Proponents talk about digestibility.
But vets seem wary.
Very. The main concern is microbial contamination. Salmonella, E. coli, Listeria. It's a risk for the cat and the humans in the house. Plus, getting the nutritional balance right in a homemade raw diet is incredibly difficult and risky.
Are there ways to make raw safer, like HPP?
High-pressure processing is used by some commercial raw brands to reduce pathogens, yeah. But it's still controversial, and major vet organizations generally advise against raw feeding due to the risks.
Okay. What about freeze-dried or dehydrated? They seem like a middle ground.
They can be. They preserve nutrients well and are convenient. But, and this is crucial, they must be properly rehydrated before feeding. Otherwise, you run into the same dehydration issues as kibble, or worse, and they can be pricey.
Right, rehydration is key, so needs change over a cat's life. Kittens.
Huge needs.
Yeah.
Way more energy, protein, specific amino acids like DHA for brain and eye development, calcium, phosphorus more, and in that critical ratio for bones. Kitten food isn't just marketing, it's vital.
Then adulthood.
Yeah.
Needs level off.
Yeah, maintenance phase.
Yeah.
Lower energy needs than kittens. Big factor.
Yeah.
Spaying or neutering often lowers metabolic rate, so obesity becomes a major risk. Portion control is key. Free feeding dry food can be a real problem here.
And our older cats, seniors, say over 7 or 10.
It gets complex. Some might gain weight initially, but truly geriatric cats often start losing weight, losing muscle mass. They might actually need more calories and highly digestible protein later on.
So the old advice of just cutting protein for seniors isn't always right.
Exactly. That thinking is changing. We need to support lean body mass. Plus, older cats often develop health issues like kidney disease or arthritis, which need specific dietary management.
Which brings us to therapeutic diets. These are prescription only, right?
Generally, yes, they're formulated for specific medical conditions under vet supervision, not usually meant for healthy cats.
Like kidney disease, CKD.
A big one. The key there is phosphorus restriction. Absolutely critical. Also, usually moderate, high-quality protein, increased omega-3s, potassium, and crucially, high moisture, so wet food is almost always recommended.
Diabetes.
Low carb, high protein is the standard. Almost always wet food again. Consistent feeding schedule, weight management, all crucial.
Obesity. Seems
Yeah.
common.
Very. Diet-wise, it's about calorie restriction, but keeping protein high to preserve muscle. Often higher fiber, lower fat. L-carnitine might help.
Right.
And again, high moisture helps with satiety. Strict portions, no free feeding.
Food allergies. How do you even figure those out?
The gold standard is an elimination diet trial, using a prescription diet with either a novel protein, something the cat's never eaten, or a hydrolyzed protein, where the proteins are broken down so small the immune system doesn't react.
Yeah.
You can't reliably do this with over-the-counter foods.
Gotcha. And lastly, urinary issues. FLUTD.
Main goal, increase water intake to dilute urine. So wet food first and foremost. Then, depending on the type of crystal or stone risk, the diet will control minerals like magnesium, phosphorus, calcium, and manage urine pH. Some diets focus on something called RSS relative supersaturation to make the urine less friendly for crystal formation.
That's a lot to cover. So boiling it all down, the main takeaway.
It really comes back to that first point. Understand your cat is an obligate carnivore. Their needs are fundamentally different from ours, or even dogs.
Yeah.
Meeting those specific meat-based needs is the foundation of their health.
And remembering those needs aren't static. They change with age, health.
Absolutely, which is why just grabbing any bag off the shelf isn't ideal. You really need to talk to your vet.
Perfect summary. So the final thought for everyone listening, thinking about your cat specifically and everything we've discussed, what's one thing about their current diet you might want to bring up with your vet next time? Something to ponder. Thanks for this.